Not tonight, Blake. I have a headache. My name is Blake Mitchell. I'm 36 years old, been married for 6 years. My wife Sophie had been saying those same words for 3 months straight, but I had no idea she was carrying another man's child. I work as a shift supervisor at Hartwell Manufacturing in Denver, Colorado. Sophie works as a receptionist at Meridian Electric downtown. We live in a house on Cedar Avenue that we bought with help from my father, who worked construction his whole life. For 3 months, Sophie had been avoiding me. She slept in the guest room. She flinched when I touched her shoulder. The woman I married used to pull me close when I got home from work. Now she acted like I was a stranger. Sophie, we need to talk about this. About what? She set down her hairbrush too quickly. Her hand shook. About us. About whatever's happening here. She turned to face me. For a second I saw something in her eyes. Fear, maybe guilt. Then she smiled that practiced smile she'd been wearing lately. Nothing's happening, Blake. I'm just tired from work. Sophie worked the same job she'd held for 2 years. Same hours, same routine. Yet suddenly she was exhausted every evening. You've been tired for 3 months. Maybe we should see Dr. Peterson next week. Get some vitamins or something. I nodded, but something felt wrong. The way she said it sounded rehearsed, like she'd been planning that answer. If you like stories about betrayal and how the truth always comes out, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel right now. Every day brings completely new stories, each one more gripping than the last. That night I lay awake listening to her breathe. When had she started sleeping so deeply? When had she stopped talking in her sleep? Those little mumbles about her dreams that used to make me smile were gone. When had my wife become a stranger? The next morning I found her in the bathroom at 6 a.m., bent over the toilet. She didn't hear me coming up the stairs. Sophie? She jerked upright, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. Blake, you scared me. Are you sick? Something I ate last night. That Chinese food was probably bad. But we'd eaten the same meal. I felt fine. She was hiding her morning sickness. She brushed past me, already dressed for work. I need to leave early today. Big client meeting. What time will you be back? I don't know. Late. After she left, I stood in our kitchen drinking coffee from the mug she bought me for our 3rd anniversary. It said world's best husband in fading letters. The irony wasn't lost on me. Something was wrong. Every instinct screamed it. But I needed proof before I acted. I had no idea how wrong things really were. I met Sophie at my brother Tyler's wedding 7 years ago. She was a friend of the bride, laughing at something my aunt had said. When she smiled, her whole face lit up. I knew I wanted to know her better. She was 22 then, working part-time while finishing her business degree. I was 29, already established at Hartwell Manufacturing, ready to build something with someone. We married at St. Mark's Cathedral. Her parents flew in from Phoenix. My family filled 3 pews. Sophie wore my grandmother's pearl necklace and cried during our vows. The first 5 years were good. We bought the house on Cedar Avenue with my father's help. Sophie planted tulips in the front yard. I built her a garden shed in the back where she kept her tools and flower pots. We talked about children. Not immediately, but someday. Sophie wanted to establish her career first. I respected that. We had time, but this year things shifted in ways I couldn't name. Small things at first. She stopped asking about my day. Stopped leaving little notes in my lunchbox that said things like, "Have a great day," or "Love you." Started working late twice a week, then 3 times. When I suggested dinner at Romano's, our favorite Italian place, she said she wasn't in the mood for heavy food. When I bought tickets to see the Broncos play, she remembered a work commitment. When my sister Amanda invited us to Sunday dinner, Sophie suddenly had plans with her college friend Rachel. The intimacy disappeared gradually, then all at once. First she was too tired, then too stressed, then too busy planning for some undefined future goal. What goal? I asked 2 weeks ago. Just things, Blake. You wouldn't understand? That stung. In 6 years she'd never dismissed me like that. Never made me feel like I wasn't smart enough to understand her life. I had always been patient. It was one of my strengths. Sophie used to say it was what she loved most about me. How I thought things through before acting, how I never rushed to judgment. She was about to learn just how patient I could be. I started paying attention to details. Her phone always face down now. Her schedule suddenly unpredictable. Her clothes newer and more expensive than her Meridian Electric salary should allow. She'd stopped drinking wine with dinner, claiming she was cutting back on alcohol. Last Wednesday she came home smelling like cologne. Not mine. Elevator at work was broken. Had to share a ride with Paul from accounting. Later that evening, Paul from the warehouse. But Meridian Electric didn't have a warehouse. I knew because I'd dropped off Sophie's forgotten lunch there once. The building was strictly offices. The lie sat between us like a third person at dinner. I watched her protect her stomach when she hugged me goodbye the next morning, her hand covering it instinctively. That night, she slept in the guest room again. Said she didn't want to disturb me with her tossing and turning. I realized my wife was a stranger. The question was, who would she become? The truth hit me on a Thursday afternoon in early October. I was organizing our filing cabinet, looking for warranty papers on our refrigerator. That's when I found the receipt. It was tucked behind our insurance documents, folded small like someone had tried to hide it. Planned Parenthood, Denver location, dated 6 weeks ago. My hands went cold. The receipt was for a pregnancy test and consultation. Positive result documented in small clinical handwriting. 6 weeks ago was right when Sophie stopped wanting me to touch her. I sat on our bed staring at that piece of paper, letting the reality sink in. Everything suddenly made sense. The morning sickness she tried to hide. The sudden aversion to wine with dinner. The way she protected her stomach when she hugged me goodbye. The deep sleeping, no more dream talking. My wife was pregnant. We hadn't been intimate in 3 months. The math was simple and brutal. Sophie was carrying another man's child. I didn't yell, I didn't throw anything. I just sat there in the silence of our bedroom, holding proof of her betrayal. The woman I loved had lied to me in the deepest way possible. She was planning to pass off another man's baby as mine. I thought about confronting her immediately, demanding answers, making her admit what she'd done. But something stopped me. Maybe it was strategy. Or maybe I just needed time to figure out how to breathe again. Instead, I put the receipt back exactly where I found it. That evening, Sophie came home with Chinese takeout and acted like nothing had changed. She even suggested we watch a movie together. "How was your day?" she asked, settling next to me on the couch. "Fine," I said. "How was yours?" "Busy. Dr. Peterson wants to run some tests next week. Just routine stuff." I nodded and smiled. But inside, I was already planning. If Sophie thought she could manipulate me, she was wrong. If she thought I would raise another man's child without knowing the truth, she was wrong about that too. 2 weeks after finding the receipt, I made my first move. "Sophie, I've been thinking about what you said. About starting a family." She looked up from her plate of eggs, fork halfway to her mouth. We were having breakfast on a Saturday morning, something we hadn't done in months. "What about it? Maybe we should stop waiting. Maybe we should try now." The color drained from her face. She set down her fork carefully like it might break. "Now? I thought we agreed to wait until I get that promotion." "What promotion? You never mentioned a promotion." She fidgeted with her napkin. "Well, it's not official yet. But Mr. Thompson hinted there might be an opening in management soon." Another lie. I'd called Meridian Electric on Friday, pretending to be a vendor. There was no Mr. Thompson. The company had 10 employees total. "How long do you think that will take?" "I don't know, maybe 6 months. Maybe longer, 6 months." Right when her pregnancy would become impossible to hide. "I think we should try now," I pressed. "We're not getting any younger." Sophie stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the kitchen tile. "I need to shower. Rachel and I are going shopping today." "What time will you be back?" "I don't know. Late." After she left, I drove to downtown Denver. I met with an attorney named Patricia Wells who specialized in family law. She was in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes that had probably seen every kind of betrayal. "I need to know my options," I told her. She listened while I explained the situation. "The pregnancy, the timeline, the lies. Do you want to save your marriage?" she asked. "I want to know the truth first." She nodded. "Get the DNA test. But be smart about it. Don't let her know you suspect anything until you have proof. If she's 6 weeks along, non-invasive prenatal paternity testing can be done as early as 9 weeks through a simple blood draw. She'd never know unless she specifically looked for it on her medical records. What about timing? We can have results in 72 hours once we have the samples. But given what you've told me, I'd recommend getting legal documentation first. I left her office with business cards and pamphlets. Everything I needed to protect myself legally. But first, I needed to let Sophie play her hand. That evening, she was unusually affectionate. She made my favorite dinner, beef stew with cornbread. She asked about my day and actually listened to the answer. "I love you, Blake," she said as we cleaned up the kitchen. "I love you too." It was the truth, which made everything harder. I still love the woman I married. But that woman might have been a lie from the beginning. 3 days later, Sophie made an announcement. "I'm going to visit my sister Elena in Colorado Springs this weekend." Sophie didn't have a sister named Elena. She had one sister, Patricia, who lived in Seattle and had been happily married for 8 years. "How long will you be gone?" "Just Saturday and Sunday. I'll drive down Saturday morning and come back Sunday evening." I nodded like I believed her. "Give Elena my best." That Saturday, I followed her. I felt like a character in one of those TV shows Sophie liked to watch. staying 3 cars back on I-25, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap like some kind of amateur detective. Sophie didn't drive to Colorado Springs. She drove 20 minutes to Lakewood and parked outside a modest ranch house on Pine Street. A man came out to meet her. Tall, athletic build, dark hair. He kissed her in the driveway like he'd been waiting for her. I parked across the street and took pictures with my phone. The license plate on his red Ford F-150. The house number. The way Sophie melted into his arms like she belonged there. They went inside together. I waited 2 hours, then drove home. That evening I researched the address. The house belonged to someone named Logan Hayes, age 38, employed as a contractor with Hayes Construction. No wife listed in public records. No children. Monday morning I called in sick to work and drove back to Lakewood. I waited across from the Pine Street house until Logan Hayes left at 7:30 a.m. Then I followed him. He stopped at a coffee shop on Colfax Avenue. I went in after him, ordered coffee, 2 people behind him in line. He was on his phone talking quietly. I caught fragments of conversation. Told her husband she wants to start trying now. Couple more weeks until she can tell him. Timeline's perfect. My coffee tasted like ash. I left it on the counter and walked out. The picture was becoming clearer. Sophie and Logan had a timeline. She would string me along for a few more weeks, then announce her pregnancy as a happy surprise. By then, she'd be far enough along that the dates would seem reasonable. I would be expected to celebrate, to be excited about becoming a father, to start planning for our future together. Meanwhile, I'd be raising Logan Hayes' child and never know the truth. Unless I stopped it first. That afternoon, I made more appointments. First with a private investigator named Warren Cross, who specialized in infidelity cases. Then with a DNA testing lab that offered discreet services. How soon can you get results? I asked the lab technician. Once we have samples, 72 hours for standard paternity testing. And you can do this without the mother knowing? As long as you're the legal husband and can provide samples from yourself and the child, yes. But the child hadn't been born yet. I needed proof before Sophie made her announcement. Warren Cross had solutions. I can provide you with a GPS tracker smaller than a quarter, he said. Also software that will track her internet activity on any shared devices. I opened a separate bank account under my name only. I was preparing for war, and Sophie had no idea the battle had already begun. Over the next few days, I watched her carefully. The way she touched her stomach when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she declined coffee in the morning. The way she made excuses to avoid anything physical between us. She was buying time, waiting for the right moment to spring her surprise on me. I decided to let her, but I was going to be ready with a surprise of my own. I attached the GPS tracker to Sophie's car while she showered one morning. I installed the monitoring software on our shared laptop. Every move she made, every website she visited, every lie she told, I would know about it. 2 weeks later, Warren Cross called with results. Your wife's boyfriend has an interesting history, he said. 3 previous relationships that ended badly. 2 domestic disturbance calls to his address in the past 5 years for suspected domestic violence. And he's currently unemployed. Unemployed? But I saw him leave for work. He was laid off from Hayes Construction 6 weeks ago. Outstanding child support payments to an ex-girlfriend named Ashley in Fort Collins. He's behind on his mortgage by 4 months. The GPS tracking shows your wife has been to his house 7 times in the past 2 weeks. 6 weeks ago, right when Sophie got pregnant. And domestic violence calls? My wife was involved with a man who had a history of hitting women. There's more, Warren continued. Bank records show he's been borrowing money from 3 different women, including your wife. She withdrew $2,000 from your joint savings account last month. Send me everything you have, I said. That evening, Sophie announced she wanted to make dinner reservations for Saturday night. Somewhere special, she said. I have something I want to tell you. Good news, I hope. She smiled that practiced smile. Very good news. Saturday. That gave me 2 days to make my final preparations. Friday afternoon, Warren Cross delivered the complete dossier. Logan Hayes' employment records showing he'd been laid off. His criminal background check showing the domestic violence calls. His outstanding debts. Photos of him with Sophie taken from multiple angles with timestamps. Bank records showing the money Sophie had given him. Everything I needed to destroy her story completely. Saturday evening, Sophie chose Romano's for dinner. The same Italian restaurant where we'd had our first date 7 years ago. She wore a new blue dress and had her hair done at the salon. She looked beautiful and nervous, like a woman about to change her life. We ordered our usual dishes. Chicken parmigiana for her, lasagna for me. She barely touched her food. Blake, I have something wonderful to tell you. What is it? She reached across the table and took my hand. Her palm was damp with perspiration. We're going to have a baby. I looked surprised. Shocked even. Are you serious? I took the test yesterday. We're pregnant, Blake. After all this time trying, it finally happened. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. She'd probably rehearsed it for weeks. Sophie, that's incredible. When did this happen? When are you due? The doctor thinks I'm about 6 weeks along, so the baby should come in late spring. 6 weeks, right on schedule. I stood up and kissed her forehead. This is the best news ever. We should celebrate. I already ordered champagne, she said. Well, sparkling cider for me. Can't drink alcohol now. The waiter brought the drinks. Sophie raised her glass, beaming. To our future, she said. To our future, I agreed. Then I reached into my jacket pocket and placed a manila envelope on the table between us. What is this? Sophie asked. Open it. Her hands trembled as she lifted the flap. Inside were photographs. Sophie and Logan Hayes kissing in his driveway. Sophie and Logan through the window of his house. Sophie's car parked outside his address on 7 different occasions, each with timestamps. Also included, Logan Hayes' employment record showing he'd been laid off 6 weeks ago, his criminal background check showing domestic violence calls, his outstanding child support obligations, bank statements showing Sophie had withdrawn $2,000 from our savings to give to him, and at the bottom, a DNA testing authorization form with my signature already in place. Sophie's face went white. The envelope slipped from her fingers, photographs scattering across the table like evidence at a crime scene. Blake, I can explain. Can you explain how you got pregnant during the 3 months we haven't been intimate? Can you explain why you've been lying about working late? Can you explain Logan Hayes? Can you explain the $2,000 you gave him? She opened her mouth, but no words came. I already know everything, Sophie. The only question now is whether you want to handle this quietly or make it complicated. Sophie tried to run. She made it to the parking lot before breaking down completely. I found her sitting on the curb beside her car, sobbing into her hands. I never meant for this to happen, she said. Which part? The affair or getting caught? She looked up at me with red eyes. I thought I could make it work. I thought you'd never find out. You thought I was stupid? No, Blake, I thought I was smarter. The divorce papers were filed the following Monday. Patricia Wells had prepared everything in advance. Sophie moved out that same week, taking only her personal belongings. Logan Hayes tried to contact me once, claiming Sophie had told him we were already separated. I hung up on him. The baby was born in May. Sophie tried to keep me from the DNA test, but I had legal rights as the husband. The results confirmed what I already knew. Logan Hayes' son, not mine. Sophie and Logan lasted 8 months after the divorce was finalized. She discovered he'd been lying about his job prospects and had 2 other women he was seeing regularly. The domestic violence history Warren Cross had uncovered proved accurate when Sophie ended up with a black eye she tried to hide with makeup. That's when she finally left him. She called me crying one evening, saying she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. I lost everything, Blake. My marriage, my home, my future. Logan turned out to be exactly what you warned me about. Can we talk? Can we try to work things out? I listened politely, then hung up. 6 months later, I sold the house on Cedar Avenue and moved to a smaller place in Westminster. I kept working at Hartwell Manufacturing, got promoted to floor manager, and started taking evening classes at Front Range Community College. Sophie found work as a waitress in Colorado Springs and struggled to make ends meet. Logan Hayes disappeared when the child support payments for his first child caught up with him. She was left raising a baby alone, working double shifts and living in a studio apartment. The tulips she planted in our front yard died the summer after she left. I had stopped watering them. Every morning I'd walk past those dead flowers and remember the woman who'd planted them with such hope. That woman was gone. Maybe she'd never really existed at all. Sometimes the truth is the only justice we get, but it's enough. If you like this story, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you think. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts about new stories like this one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.